So today's presentation is going to be on the phylogeny of grasshoppers. Introduction. So the common name is just grasshopper. That's what everybody usually calls them, but their scientific name is Schistoscerca americana, and their adults can range anywhere from 1 to 7 centimeters in length. The most common feature that everybody identifies them by is their longer hind legs that they use for jumping. Their colors can range anywhere from green to brown, and then anywhere in the middle. They have, in order to see, a set of compound eyes to detect shapes, and then a set of simple eyes which allow them to detect light. Environment. Grasshoppers prefer to be close to the ground because they are herbivores and they feed on things like grass and leafy plants. So you'd find them most often in, a field of grass or sometimes in jungles and forests. These grasshoppers are cold-blooded, so they prefer hot weather, and they also prefer dry weather because fungi can inhibit the reproductive cycle of grasshoppers, and in drier environments, fungi are less able to reproduce. So for this reason, grasshoppers like to be where there are less fungi, and this happens to be dry weather areas. Predator and prey relationship. There are a variety of predators that eat grasshoppers, which include birds, gophers, mice, bats, raccoons, and other rodents. Some species of fox also like to eat grasshoppers. I'd say their role in the food chain is a nutrient cycler because they ingest the producers of the food chain, such as grass, and they transfer the energy from the sun, from the grass, to the carnivores that eat grasshoppers, such as those birds and gophers and mice. And then as far as where they are on the tree of life, on the right, there's a cladogram, and most people would, guess that they are similar. And as far as like on the tree with other insects, such as butterflies and flies and ants and that sort of thing. But as you can see on this cladogram, they're also very close in relation to crustaceans, millipedes, and centipedes. On the picture on the left is the anatomy of a grasshopper, which showcases certain evolutionary adaptations. The first of which is hearing. They have a very acute sense of hearing, which allows them to hear predators from large distances, and then their enlarged hind legs allow them to jump really far distances and also very quickly, which allows them to escape from predators. Another adaptation, it would also be with their feet. Their feet have pikes, which allow them to be protected. And then something that people may not think about with grasshoppers, them being green allows them to match the color of their environment, which makes it harder for predators to see them. And then as far as their eyes allow them to see predators from farther distances because they have two different sets of eyes that detect light and then also shapes. And then as far as the importance of grasshoppers, many farmers consider them to be pests, especially whenever they're in large numbers, just because they eat 10 to 20 times their body weight per day. And if you have a farmer with healthy crops and a large amount of grasshoppers, there's a good chance that he's going to lose a lot of his crops to the grasshoppers. They are, however, an important source of food for many animals, such as those birds and gophers and foxes that I had mentioned before. So in this way, if there weren't any grasshoppers, I guess those sorts of animals would be left without a source of food. Overall, I would think in large numbers, grasshoppers aren't beneficial, but in smaller numbers, some farmers consider them to be good luck because grasshoppers are attracted to green plants. And then if you have a crop that's full of greenery, it's likely going to produce a lot of crops. Or yeah, if you have, a field with a lot of greenery, then, there's likely going to be a good amount of profit produced from the crops. This concludes my presentation on grasshoppers. Here's a video demonstrating the jumping ability of a grasshopper. As you can see, the jump happens very quickly. which just kind of showcases the amount of power that they store in their legs and how effective that might be in a real world situation. And thank you for listening to my presentation. Here's a list of references. And yeah, this concludes my presentation.